This is the Enrichment Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Enrichment Sports Source. We have a big show for you today. Tennessee wins 52-20 over Western Kentucky, just as I predicted last week. There'd be a slew of turnovers, probably 5 and 6 or 7 plays. Now, I don't think anybody saw that one coming in quite that way, not even our own Sterling Hinton, though I'm sure he'll take credit for it. We've got a ton of stuff in this show. It is going to be jam-packed. Let's get right into it. First segment brought to you by the same company that brings you this whole darn show, Enrichment Federal Credit Union. They want to know if you've bought a car recently, because if you did and you didn't finance it through Enrichment Federal Credit Union, you've got a second chance to right that wrong. You can move your auto loan from another lender, and Enrichment will pay you up to $200 back if you move it to them. They're not going to pay you if you just move it to somebody else. Got to move it to Enrichment, and they'll give you up to $200 back. Plus, you could probably save money with a fixed APR of 1.99% on all 2009 through 2013 models. If that's not good enough, you still get 66 months to repay all of that. Enrichment Federal Credit Union, if you are buying a car or if you've just bought a car, you want to get in touch with them about their auto loan program. All right, welcome in the kickoff crew here. We have Jimmy Hyams, we have Bob Hodge, we have David Ligon. Gentlemen, thanks for being here today. And let's show you, this isn't the whole crew. We've got the full house as usual. Here's who's coming up later. Chuck Cavallera, Sterling Hinton, Brittany Nauta, Will Overstreet, Bobby Scott, Mike Strange, and any other person that wanders in off the street. All right. Tennessee gets the 52-20 win, and as I mentioned in the open there, turnovers galore. I personally have never seen anything like that at any. I was thinking, okay, have I seen a high school game where someone just gone out there and fumbled? You know, I don't know the box score from the Georgia Tech Cumberland 222-0 game, so that's the only thing that come to mind. Have you guys ever seen anything like that? Have you ever been involved in anything like that?
Outside of John Tarleton and 6-year-olds, no. That's
well, at least you've seen something.
At least I've seen something like that, but the ball's bigger than they are, so it's
My first thought was it must have been the Saints when Bobby Scott was playing for him, but I couldn't remember even that happening.
Wow.
But no, I don't remember anything like that. That was just a remarkable run of 5 turnovers and 6 snaps.
Not that I can recall.
Never been involved in anything like that?
No, it was great to watch, though. I enjoyed it. It would have been terrible to be on the other side, though.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that would do to a team's psyche if you just keep going out there play after play and turning the thing over. You got to give some credit to Western Kentucky for fighting back at all in that game. We went into that game yesterday saying, okay, couldn't tell much from the Austin Peay game, but after Western Kentucky, you're going to have a much better idea of just how good this Tennessee team is. Due to all those turnovers, I'll start with you. Due to all those turnovers, do you think we really got a good judge, a good grade on, a good gauge is the word I'm looking for, on Tennessee?
I wish it started with somebody else and I could have just said I agree with him. But no, I think the turnovers, it's a double-edged sword. Tennessee did a great job of being in position to make them turn the ball over, and I heard the players talking afterwards about they did some things. It wasn't just luck. They did some things. But you would have loved to have seen Tennessee stand toe-to-toe with them on an even playing field, minus the turnovers, and seen them score a 52-20 win. I think this way, Tennessee's offense at the end of the first half, you didn't get to see a lot of their offense because 2 defensive touchdowns, and then you're playing with such a short field. It's just a different kind of game. So I would like Western Kentucky to come back and scrimmage Tennessee today and one that doesn't count. But I mean, you'll never say no, I don't want those turnovers. Yeah. But at the same time, it did leave questions about Tennessee.
Yeah, I thought, David, I'll go to you next. I'll save Jimmy for last on this one. You look at it, and certainly you have to credit Tennessee. They've stripped Dontavius Sapper, great strip.
Fantastic.
You had Sutton with the tremendous interception over there, which was just a great play on the ball. But there were also those where it should have been a catch up in the air.
Yeah.
So you give them credit, but at the same time, you can't count on that every week. How much can you get a grade on Tennessee in this?
Well, I'm going to take the other side.
Okay.
I thought you could get some good information out of this. I mean, obviously some of those turnovers were because Tennessee was going after the football. You had not only Sapp, you had A.J. Johnson in there. Everybody, I mean, once a couple turnovers occurred and they realized what was going on, it was absolutely, there was blood in the water. And every time a Western Kentucky player had the ball, they were trying to rip it out. They were trying to hit it. Now, some of the interceptions, let's back those out because they're just terrible throws. But on offense, I thought we got a good read. There's areas to work on. I mean, throwing the football football with Justin Worley, running the football. I mean, early in that game, those two defensive tackles for the Hilltoppers were blowing up our inside, which was very surprising.
Let's get back to that. I want to finish with that one. Let me get Jimmy's take on what kind of gauge you took away from Tennessee in this game.
Well, I thought the turnover skewed a little bit. I was disappointed that Tennessee offensively in the first half, they didn't run the ball very well. They had less than 50 yards rushing. I didn't think Worley played a very good first half. He was 3 and 9. Did have a drop in there from Kroom that could have been a big play, should have been a big play. But I also think when Tennessee got that 31-3 lead, they relaxed a little bit. And I think that helped allow Western Kentucky to come back in. The second half, the offensive line took control. Now the defense, I said going in, I thought Western Kentucky would get 400 yards. Okay, I was wrong, but they got 393. Yeah. They did move the ball. They were better than 50% on third down efficiency. The other thing that got me in the first half about Tennessee on offense, they were 0 for 5 on third downs. And they improved that in the second half, but that first half on the 0 for 3, they said they got out of a rhythm in part because of the turnovers and stuff, but I did not like the way the offense played in the first half. And you say, well, they scored a lot of points, but the defense set up a lot of that from the 12-yard line to the 22-yard line. But I was really surprised Tennessee didn't run the ball better the first half.
I'll close out the turnover portion of this segment by just simply saying Butch Jones is not the showman that Bruce Pearl was, but he gets marketing the same way Bruce Pearl did, and he means it the way Bruce Pearl did. When he comes out there after the game and says, General Neyland, second Maxim, that's manna from heaven to starved Vol Nation out there. I thought that was a wise move. Exactly. And I don't think there was anything false about it either. I don't think somebody handed him a card and said, say this. And he gets it. I think that was impressive. David, you brought up the run game. Didn't look great in the first half. Looked better in the second half. 555 yards through 2 games. Where is the offensive line and the run game, including the running backs, at this stage through 2 games? What can be worked on? Are you happy with it? Are you a little disappointed?
It's got work to be done. Okay. They've got to get more physical up front. They're big. They have the capability of doing it early. They were running a lot of what we used to call down and around scheme, where you block back from the play side defensive tackle and pull a backside guard. Well, what can occur is that center or that guard on the play side get blown back. They're getting blown back, so all of a sudden our pulling guard has nowhere to go. Right. He's getting slowed down. You can't slow down. You got to come through hard on that play side gap and blow that linebacker up. And we're kind of coming up in there a little timid. And so these 2 big guys, there's a 313, 290-plus pound tackle. They're having their way. Now, I don't know if it was a conditioning factor, which is a positive for Tennessee if they're in good shape on that line, or they just said, okay, this isn't going to be an easy game. We have to come to play. And all of a sudden, you started seeing movement on that line. You started seeing them change the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what they're going to have to do.
Can I add a little something to that?
You get about 20 seconds.
Tennessee's line does not benefit from your backs because your backs are not fast. And if you're going to run read options, occasionally the quarterback does have to keep it to help you guys out just a little bit.
Yeah.
And they didn't. I don't think they'd run it with the quarterback much because they needed to. Worley's not a real good runner anyway. But I think you'll see them use a quarterback carrying a little bit more in the future.
They need to.
And I thought it looked pretty clear. There was a real difference between, and we'll talk about this later in the show, but there was a real difference between those 3 and outs at the end of the half and then the fire that O-line and everybody else came out with in the second half. I think Butch Jones put tail to fanny, as Bobby Scott would say. All right, he whipped some fanny. When we come back, we're going to play the quiz show. Brittany Nauta joins us. 3 questions for the guys. I'll tell them if they're right or wrong. We still have plenty more to come, including Will Overstreet a little later in the show. Going to break down Oregon's fast break spread option attack. You want to stick around for that. Come on back on the Enrichment Sports Source.